And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon, 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. How's it going this morning, Thunder Keys? Hope everything's going well. I'm doing good. I'll show you guys the workbench here. And this is the kind of way my brain's working at the moment, which is kind of called all over the place. You'll see I've got some den rail cut here, the Raspberry Pi, a few other things for some cable management because we're going to work on doing some underdeck wiring today. The reason we've got some den rail is in looking at these. I got both power supplies mounted up in these brackets, and I went to hang them in there, and they're too tall. I don't know if I needed taller feet. Don't know, but these are too tall. These will actually sit on the ground and cantilever the printer up. So these came off. We're going to go back to our normal we're going to go back to the normal of doing den rails. In this case, I'm going to do some drop den rails and then mount the PSUs that way. Hey Chewy, welcome on in. Timor, welcome on in. Yeah, and just trying to get my head wrapped back on there. Let me get, I think I don't need this for right now, so let me move this out of the way. Yeah, it's just one of those days where everything seems like it's going to go right, and then the brain has other ideas for me. So with that said, we're going to try and get some things done. I did just go out this morning and cut this. So we got some wire. We're going to need to put the printer up here. So the fact that I've got everything sitting right here is a mess. These are just a bag full of different types of motor wires. So we'll use that to wire up all of our motors. We've also got a bunch of different wires to include the wires for the beds are in here as well. We'll get that out. These are for the beds. This will be to connect our Raspberry Pi up. I'll leave this stuff right here in the middle because it's going to sit right over the top of it. We'll get the screw thing out of the way. Coffee out of the way. We don't want to spill that. Sorry, like I said, just running a bit behind today. The other thing that I will say that's going to be fun today, so I am going to be going over to OTTOeject later today. I know it's kind of shocking, but me and Miss Dragon need to go over and talk to them and do some planning for Midwest Rip Rap Festival. So as mentioned in the last couple of streams, we're not only going to be building a box turtle at the show, but we're also going to have an auto eject at our table as well. So we need to do some planning on that. I will be down at OTTOeject Monday evening doing a stream with the folks from Automated who are out in Auckland, New Zealand. And so it's Monday evening for me and Tuesday morning for them. You're cutting out a little bit here and there. I still really wish I knew what the hell was going on. NVIDIA. So I'm doing noise removal. Let's do echo removal as well. And we've got that through broadcast. All right, just bear with me a second. We'll look at the audio stuff yet again. Okay. Is this any better or no? I just spiked again. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to play with the adjustments. And like I said, I don't know what changed. I'm actually talking a lot quieter than normal. And I nothing has changed in the gains that I'm aware of. I wonder if it was something when I had this connected to my MacBook, because I had it connected through a Comica USB-C cable. And I wonder, because I think that has some type of audio processor in the cable itself. So give me a second to see if I can find something here of a setting that may have changed on the receiver for whatever reason. Okay, is this any better? How's this? Is this any better? Not sure if the volume's down lower or what, but I'm wondering if it somehow reset the dB settings on the receiver itself. Hey, Mr. Wizix, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. We're just starting off playing with the audio again. I think that's probably what it is, because when I streamed from Echovate on Saturday, last Saturday, I connected using this cable here. And my understanding, this allows me to go directly into the receiver on one end and USB-C on the other, because the new MacBooks, the headphone jack is a true headphone only jack. It's not a headphone and mic jack. So the mic wouldn't work. So I had to get one of these. And my understanding is there's electronics in here that enable that functionality. So I wonder if something here messed with it. But regardless, let me put that back where I know it's going to be at so I don't. Okay. So we're going to put the printer up here. So that's why I was making room. Like that. Okay, so what my thought process here was, we could do the standard DIN rail mounts, and then all the electronics that I put on it would be facing down. But as you can see, everything, well, as you might be able to see, everything is facing up, so that take the deck panels off and you can work on things versus having to set it over on its side or something to work on the printer, which is something I like. So what I have is the drop DIN rail mounts. So this is basically going to mount on the side and drop your rail down. Now, they're mirror panels, so yes, that goes together and that goes together. My thought process was rather than go this way, because once again, we have this caddy and the Raspberry Pi here, I'm going to go longitudinally. So as you can see, I put in the 2040 here. I've got 2 of the corner brackets at this end, only 1 on this side. The other side, I can't get a corner bracket here because of the screen. So I'd have to do some swapping of something, which I could literally swap this and this. However, then with the Raspberry Pi, I don't know. I mean, it's doable. It is doable to swap these 2 components. And that's not a bad thought, actually. It moves the display a little bit more off center, but that's not a bad play. Well, the one time that I don't want hammer nuts to turn, and they do, or I want them to turn and they don't, something like that. There we go. Once again, the thought process here is just rotate these 2 around, and that way I can get the 4th corner put in, and that will help me keep the strength here, especially if I'm hanging stuff off of this. So, how's it going this morning, Mr. Wizix? Hopefully you're doing good today. Thunder keys, I've got a package arriving today. I don't know if it's the armored turtle shirt or the stuff from Fabrico. I just don't know. We'll have to see. Hector, Hector's got some new shirts. I wore one, I think, Thursday on my stream. And come on. Really? So I'm not sure if it's Hector's shirt or the armored turtle shirt I got, but why are you not going in there? Because we're on stream and you're being a pain? Sign your life away for an EV. Yeah. What major purchases kind of feel like, don't it? I know doing a house, it's the same way. You're like sitting here signing papers and more papers, and it's like, good God, how many signatures and papers do we have to sign here? Right, there we go. That's on there. We'll need my there it is. My ball head socket to undo these. We can slide this down. We'll get this final position once we get everything put in here, but for now, this will get it out of the way. And so my thought process is I'm going to be using these channels underneath and in front with the Trident little twist and click zip tie holders. And that'll let me run my wiring down the center panel or pillar and then join it in there. So there'd be my thought process. Does move things a little bit further from the fan, but that'll be okay. And I'm not sure now if this will lay in there still because of now this is going to be in the way. Yeah, so this will be in the way of that, and that'll be in the way there, but we can always take this and set it right here. And once again, we're keeping our Raspberry Pi close to this. If we decide to run a Keystone jack somewhere, we can. So I think that actually still works out well for us. Once again, we're keeping all the wiring down around the center panel and then spreading back out. And the Raspberry Pi, I'm also thinking about just plugging one of these in and running that as a 24 volt to 5 volt DC converter. Like I said, today's feeling a little more scatterbrained. It says Monday it's in Greensboro. Okay. Well, I don't know. I keep getting, yeah. USPS is a mess as far as tracking numbers and delivering things these days. Okay. Should be good to go with M3 by 10s here. Give me M3 by 10s. M5 by 10s to mount this. Once we get it mounted, we'll work on putting it in position. But not a lot coming into this side. We will have our USB cable that will need to go in there. So put that there for now. What else we got? We need to do our drop rails. To get our drop rails, we'll need to grab our rail material here. Try and squeak it in one side or the other. Hey, Delta Forge Games, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. All right, one side. Nope, different side. Okay. We are working on our RIFF 600. This is a design by an individual called V4 Projects, or excuse me, V4 Project. It is a 300 by 600 millimeter build volume printer. And yeah, we're just mentally working through the process of doing this build. V4 is out on leave at the moment. So I'm kind of starting to wing it a bit as far as the electronics go. And I'm deviating a little bit. We do that from time to time. Hey, Waters, how's it going? Yeah, Waters, as you can tell, I did not get a chance to do that photo I mentioned. So, but yeah, it's for the Anycubic, which would wind up being, damn, these are going to need to be bigger. Bear with me one second. It's 250 by 250, but there is like semicircular notches on the back side of it for the alignment pegs. Now I hope 16, yeah, 16s will work here. So going to knock that over. Those alignment pegs was more of where I was saying I'll have to get you a picture so you see what I'm talking about. Lined up. Hope you're doing well, though, Delta Forge. Just, like I said, just taking our time building this out. The designer is now on his holiday. I believe he is Swedish, if I remember right. But it's V4 projects on printables. I'll grab the link here in a second. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do is not spill these, but we're going to take our LRS. We're just using standard boron DIN clips here. Put that on and kind of figure out our distances and stuff and where we want to line this up at. Some of this wire out. It doesn't have to be centered. It can be off to one side or the other. I'm just going to try and make things shorter runs if possible. I could even do two of these on the same side and hey, awesome. That's like not even in the I could do two of these on the same side of the printer, like on this front half, rather than doing it one on each side. Just depends on how we feel like doing things. Laser RS EV. You don't have any in the store right now? Okay, not a problem. We'll mount the other one over on this side. Our inlet is right in this area. So we'll be able to come in, possibly even loop right down the side. We'll do our Wagos somewhere around here and pop into our two power supplies that way via Wagos, and then do all of our standard stuff. Why does that look like that might not be straight and parallel, but what the hell? We're assuming that the mat's straight and parallel. And the other thing that I failed to do was do the set screws in the whatchamacallit, on the extrusions here, or on the DIN rail. There is a place to put a set screw so that your DIN rail doesn't wander. So I'll have to throw those on there a little bit later. And if you're cutting your DIN rail down like I did, be careful of any burrs. Last thing you want to do is slice yourself and bleed all over your nice printer. God knows I do it enough, but those are not the ones I wanted. Where's my, I believe 8s will do it. No idea where that went, so that's going to be great. Like I said, this is just going to keep the den rail itself from walking out of this and dropping. Have I seen the retro glide for the K1 series? I did see something about retro glide. I have not honestly put much thought at it. Um, so because well, I don't have the it's I don't think it's going to make much sense for my K1, right? I've got a K1C. It's a smaller size. So I don't think things like retroglide are going to help as much for me. But that's based on my particular use case. All right, we're going to move some things around so I can sit down because my hip's hurting. Sucks getting old. And yes, I know I'm not the oldest one in here. Oh, you're going to drive it to Murph, so I get to see it there? Awesome. Okay. So where are we at now? We're going to go ahead and put this one in. We need few more of our rolling nuts here. Okay. One. Costco is doing auto loans. Holy crap. Or is that their employee thing? I think we got all four going there. We'll go ahead, same thing, but I'm going to turn around so all of our terminals are facing the inside. Like so. Try and get this lined up about the same spot. Now, because this is a drop channel, it makes it pretty easy because it's the drop channels like this with these C shapes are made to be going around the two big fans, the 60-20 fans in the side skirts of the Voron. Since we're not using those on this build, I mean, we might put one over here, don't know. This will allow us plenty of pass-through in the middle here as well that we can route wires down and up. So we can try and keep our power wires as low as possible and then bring all of our other wires around here for talking to the board itself and just try and keep some separation for EMI between the things. Now, what we're going to need is of course, this one will talk to this one will talk to this one, and then we'll come out to the beds. This one is going to feed power over here, and then once again, I'm probably going to mount my 5-volt DC-DC. Might just do it underneath there and use that to power the Raspberry Pi. That way I've got a good constant voltage source for the Raspberry Pi, and we're not fighting voltage errors or under voltage and all that good stuff. And once again, everything should be low underneath the deck. There's going to be a slight gap across the top of the MOSFETs right here and the deck panel, which is good. And even if they were connecting, I mean, aluminum to aluminum, right? Hey, Pez Liz, good morning. Welcome in. All right, so the one today is probably for Brico and the other one will be yours. Okay, cool. Cool. So how are you doing today, Liz? Hopefully you're doing well. I figured today we'll start working on a little bit of the wiring. I've got some Wago style mount block here, and what I can literally do is take this, flip it like that, and go on the underside, pull it over here in the middle so that I can bring my wires from the inlet right down here, go into the Wagos, and then feed across. This will be for my 110 mains. So we want to make sure that we're good to go on the mains there. Now remember, we're running 24-volt heated beds, so we're not going to have to run the heated bed stuff. So in essence, I need 1 in, 2 outs. So this is 3x5. I actually would be able to get away with a 3x3, meaning instead of using 5-point Wagos here, I can use 3-point Wagos and I should be good because I'm just running the 2 power supplies. Yeah, and like I said, this would mount kind of just like this, but I think I'm going to do it coming in from the underside. That way, once again, we're keeping all of the mains voltage and other power kind of underneath as much as possible, and we can bring our signal wire up around the top, coming back to the board, and that'll keep, hopefully reduce any chance of EMI and other loss and things like that. So We also, like I said, we're going to have all of our Z motors coming in here, and I'm going to create some labels because we're going to do Z0 back here on this corner, right? So Z0, Z1, Z2, Z3. Front of the machine from the printer's perspective, right? So our Y is 600 millimeters, our X is still 300. Okay, so this would be Z0, Z1, Z2, Z3. I'll go ahead and put some labels down on the motors themselves, and then we're going to go Z0, Z1, Z2, skip a port, Z3. Or no, this doesn't have the combined Z, does it? It does not. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This last one we won't use. I'll leave it in there as it'll be a spare just to have in the printer in case we need to swap it out. You need to remove that jumper, which is the 5-volt jumper, at least for now. Yeah. And I really need to find that one screw that I dropped. I doubt very seriously if it somehow dropped back into its bin. The other thing I need to do is put in the screws on either side here to hold that den rail in. Getting ready for your meetup. Nice. All right, you're giving filament away? That's sweet. Yeah, the nice thing when I do my meetup is it's actually at a store, so if people need filament, stuff like that, they can buy from the store. So it's a good way of bringing people into the store. One, so that they know about that resource, and then two, so that the store that I'll say is supporting me, I'm supporting them. And I'm probably going to have to recrimp these and make these longer now that my decision was to try and route all my 110 further down. Yeah, because this isn't going to make it to the Wagos unless I put it like there, and even then, that's not good. That would be way too tight. So I'll have to make these longer, which sucks. Either that or, mount the Wago kind of right there and then make longer runs to the power supplies. That's doable as well. Where is I'm losing things to include my mind again. Giving a lot of your partial spools to people, you need space. Yeah, I feel you there. I feel you there. All right, so this one's now locked in. I need to lock in the other side. And like I said, some of the skirts on this, they're just designed way too large for anything that I've got. So I'm either going to piece a bunch of smaller ones together straight out of the boron stuff, or I will just leave gaps for now and reprint the ones that that he has, especially for the back, in PETG on this printer. I mean, it'd be a good way of testing the printer out, huh? How's it going, Glendon? I hope you're doing well. Glendon, you had talked at one point about doing a charity stream. for all the tornadoes and stuff that ripped through. Did you do that already and I missed it, or are you still trying to get things set up for that? Yeah, I think what we'll do is I'll go ahead and put this here and then we'll route the cable. I can literally route it right alongside here. There's a point right here where we can do a little zip tie, bring it in, and power those, and that'll work. Like I said, the question is do I keep this size or find a 3x3, meaning three-way Wagos. If I was running mains heated beds, then I would need this because I would have to run the SSRs versus these whatchamacallits here. And real fast, where does that line up? That panel is going to go there. This comes down. That out of the way. That would be right in the way, so that's got to move. Yeah, that gives me free access coming down in there. There we go. This one doesn't really matter. I can move this all the way over. And these are going to line up in the channel here, so we're good there. Plans are coming together. Plans are coming together. You have not yet. You talk to your wife. She's getting information from her hospital. There you go. Set up an account that goes directly to the victims. Okay. Yeah, it's always better if it doesn't have to go through hands and stuff, and it can just go bada bing direct into the charity account. It makes life a lot easier. Yeah, that you do it proper, exactly. Okay, the other thing that I did was I moved the bed mounts, I swapped the sides so that the flag that comes up is on the outside versus the inside of these. Like I said, I can pull these over further, but I can't do that up front. So I needed the wings on the outside on the front, so I made a match between the two. Before we start doing mains wiring, let's go ahead and start doing some of our DC voltage wiring. Now, I've got the brown and blue wire here that we got from doing which one was this? The BZ-Bot. And I know this is more geared for the main side of things, but I think I'm going to use it because it is a heavier gauge and I don't have black and red. So I'm going to use this for the DC side as well, coming over here. Yeah, I think it's just going to be easier. Once again, the brown will be live, the blue will be the neutral, or in this case, the DC negative. because I don't think I've got enough. Like this is connector for a, that's weird. I just don't think I have enough wire like this to do these up appropriately. As I'm saying that, maybe I do have enough. Thank you, Mrs. Dragon. We just got our Dunkin' run, so you know what? Maybe no. I think this is 20 gauge, and because we're dealing with 24 volts, I think I would much rather go up to at least 18 gauge. So the one set's 18, this is 20. The 18 I'd be fine running. The 20 for a multi-100 watt, I think it's like 220 watt, 24 volt bed. I'd much rather run 18 gauge just to be on the safe side. So I did order some more 18 gauge wire. The 18 gauge wire that I currently have is, you know, white, blue, yellow, and green. I'm out of the red and black right now. So I did order some more. It'll be here tomorrow. Let me make one more double check look here. Yep, not there. Or there. Yeah, I do have some. Yeah, we'll do it this way. We'll use the blue and the brown. It will be fine. I promise. And this stuff is going to get fork connectors on both sides. So we'll need our crimpers, and I'll need my fork connectors. Which are there. And make sure that was still printing. So we got our fork connectors here. Go for the overhead. Probably the better way to look here. We've got some of our fork connectors. Like I said, our mains inlet's going to be over here. We're going to use our blue and black wire that we got, or blue and brown wire that we have here from the VZBot build. And this will be 18 gauge. Like I said, it just gives me a better warm fuzzy here running this wire. Hey, Hutch Makerspace, welcome in. Once again, our blue is going to be our DC negative. So we're going to go there. And I'm just going to do these to length. Make sure you get under the washer and that it's fully pushed in when you do these. just like that. And of course, we're coming back. This is going to be negative, so we'll come back to our negative. Nips help. We got a good firm connection there. It really doesn't matter which of your positive and negative lugs you go into. Just once again, make sure that you're underneath the washer so you get a nice good squish on that wire lug or on the spade connector, like so. And we'll come over here and we'll do the other side. Yeah, it's always easier for tax purposes when it goes direct and you don't have to, you're not playing man in the middle. I did nonprofit work for my local EAA chapter, and having 50C3 and tax exempt status and all that, it's a nightmare knowing, like, can we flow it this way? Do we have to flow it that way? And it was always easier if it just went directly and we didn't have to have a bunch of middle people. Make sure that's locked in there. Give it a good little tug. Once again, we're coming back to the VN. We're going to go about right there. Now we can choose to power this and run this however we want. It would make sense that this is our controller. This bed is the bed we will always ensure that is on, because this is the front of the bed. If we're doing 300 by 300 space, we'd only want to light this one up. We wouldn't light this one up. So it's almost like this one is the main controller and all that stuff. And then this one over here would be for the second bed. But you can divvy it up however you want. Like I said, I know that V4 Productions had set it up so that, or excuse me, V4 Project had set it up with a separate switch for this that you would have to reach around and turn on so that this would even light up. So I'm going to run it off the same switch. It's only going to get powered up when a signal's sent to light up this MOSFET. Otherwise, it's just sitting there. The power supply is running, taking a little bit of a trickle charge to run its LED, but I've got enough printers that are running dual power supplies these days that that's not that big of a deal for me. How's it going today, Zombie? Who all is ready for MRRF? You know, we're getting there. You know, I said no new projects, and now we're working on this. I'm working on the automated. I've got to, I went out yesterday and cut all the extrusions that came in that Mukesh purchased from Open Builds. And I've got a couple more that need to be done to finish out the third kit. And then I have to go and divvy up all of the hardware and stuff like that. So still more work to be done there. Monday evening, I'm going to be getting on a call with them and going through a build of one of the machines or one of the auto ejects. And after that, we'll do a live stream, a joint live stream. And one's going to be for Ecovate itself, so it'll stay there at the store. One will be for me, and I will be bringing that to Midwest Rep Rap Festival. And I will have it at my table, so if anybody wants to check it out, feel free to stop by. I don't know which printer we're going to set it up on. So I don't know which printer I'm going to be bringing to set it up on. I know that we had, they had it on like A1s, P1 series, X1 series, you know, that's relatively easy. He had it working on the Prusa Mark IV. Now, the issue I have with the Prusa Mark IV is we have to use the BQ beds, and my BQ bed, I wired that wrong. My BQ bed is MIA. Don't know what happened, but it is MIA. All right, I'm just going to remake this one because it's going to be too short now because I was routing it to positive instead of negative. So this one will come here. It'll be slightly long now. I can cut it shorter if I wanted, or we'll leave it a little long. But we have the one demo plate still, but I'm going to need, I don't know, at least 2 plates to show it switching plates. Otherwise, it's kind of not switching plates. Not doing the thing that it was designed to do. So we'll have to do some work there. But yeah, we'll get that figured out. The box turtle build stuff, I'm printing all the parts right now. We're pretty good. I think I'm down to the point where I need to start printing a lane with print the magenta lane, and then just start doing all the color specific lane stuff. So that'll go a little faster once I start into that. We're testing out the Cobra S1 right now for Mrs. Dragon's coins. And once we get that done, we can start running full plates instead of just the ones. Right now we're just doing one to make sure that everything's working right. And if I have to, I'll stop doing my coins and start doing some for her. Not if I have to, I will. If the Anycubic's not up to the task right now. Your Twisted Tea, you got that mostly functional last night? Nice. So for those that don't know, Twisted Tea is Zombies. Twisted Tea, is that an IDEX or tool changer? I think it's a tool changer, right? On your Twisted Tea. We'll do that. We've got that one. I need to do the red side over here. And then work on bringing power over to the board. We will have a second board that we need to run power to, so another reason why we'll do it this way. We'll kind of split some power up between everything. I did use yeah, was Twisted Tea tool changer or IDEX? I cannot remember. You did Twisted Tea a while ago. I am excited about the Stealth Changer kits coming out. Single tool, just fast printer with the side pack. Okay. Rock on. Okay, so that's negative. This is positive. We'll come over here, do something like that. I'll probably switch these over to the front side. Single tool fast printer with the side pack. That sounds kind of like my Annex Engineering K3. I'm going to group those down a bit. All right, so DC going to the MOSFETs is set up. We need to bring DC power over to our board. I'm going to shove my head in here to here's the bed. Positives on the right. The negative is by the mounting screw, positive is by the other terminal lugs. So we'll make our cables there. And once again, we're using the MOSFETs because these are bigger, beefier MOSFETs. They have better cooling than these smaller ones that are on the board here. If we did it any other way, we would run one of the heater beds off of this board and the other one off the secondary board that'll be in the back. I believe he was using SKR for the main board and then a SKR Pico for the sideboard that runs it'll run your X and Y motors and the tool head. So X, Y, and E and the tool head. This kind of helps split the load. Yes, we can do the same type of thing by going Octopus, Kraken, you know, pick a board. But the idea behind this build by the builder himself is reuse of parts to minimize the cost. That one there. Do positive side, and then we'll come back and do that one because those are going to be ferrule connectors into screw down terminals. So yeah, the whole purpose of this is reusing parts that he already had on hand. That's why I went with the 12 millimeter rods, is because it came off of another printer that he scavenged for parts. So of course, this is my first time using 12 millimeter rods, so I had to go and procure that piece of equipment, but everything else is relatively standard here in the Dragon Den. Okay, and once again, we'll bring this down, give it a little bit of slack. Give that a snip. And these are going to get ferrules. I think I'm going to need some 18 gauge ferrules again soon. Those are we want to strip a little bit more of the wire back here, similar to if we were using a Lego, because our ferrules have a long enough head on them that we can get good wire contact there. Puzzle frame for sure. Yeah, that's, you know, as we try and make these little speed demons, the majority of what we're trying to do is make the frames more rigid. Which adds mass to them. I mean, so I built, or not built, but I've unboxed the Centauri Carbon, the K1C, the X1Cs. What else we got? Centauri Carbon, the Anycubic, Cobra S1, stuff like that, right? And they've been decent printers, but the Core One, that is a hefty printer. It's a little bit deceiving in its heft. All right, so once again, negative to the left side, right? We verify. Definitely want to make sure we're putting positive to positive, negative to negative. Yes, negative is towards the mounting screw of the board here, so that would be our blue. But yeah, it's got a little bit of a weight to it. It's a little thick. And so far, I mean, very first print that I did on it, you know, we didn't do a test cube, we didn't do the little keychain or anything like that. The first print was the rocket engine. We just went full bore with it. And it printed beautifully. A little tiny bit of stringing, but that's due to the filament. Like I literally just grabbed filament off the shelf at Ecovate. I have no idea how long it's been sitting there open. Just grabbed a color, said, okay, this looks like a good color, and started printing. Okay, what do we got? We've got DC to the DC boards, power coming over here. We will need a signal coming from this heater bed to one side, and we can either come out of the other heater and come over here, or like I said, we can run it from the other board. We're going to come out of this one. This is the way I've set it up. So the main heater, even though it's got the beefier MOSFET, we're going to come off there and loop it to this board. Heater 0 on the SKR is going to go to this board. Sorry, not to the screw downs, but to the JST connector. Okay, so that's where those two are connecting into. The Hold on, folks. Brain fart is in full effect right now. Yeah, those would be signal wire. We can go with standard small thin gauge 24 gauge JST. That is literally going to be a 5 volt signal wire just to say turn on, turn off, right? So we don't need anything big for that. It's like running to your SSR. So 20, 24 gauge, you know, what have you. And the more I thought about that, I was saying we can go with 3-way Wagos there. I think I'm going to go to 5 still because I want to run a frame ground. Even though we're running DC beds, we still want to ground the overall printer. And if you guys remember me doing the Core 1 build, there was a FE cable with like 5 different lugs on it. Well, those 5 lugs was a common ground through the whole printer. So you print or you ground the top rail structure. You ground the back panel frame. You ground the bottom deck panel. You ground the electronics enclosure. So that's 4, and then you take it to the common ground on the printer itself, or on the power supply. So it is a well grounded machine. Definitely have had no signal issues. Having the NFC connector, other than just dealing with that tiny wire, I mean, it's nice to have the NFC connector, but you're literally using that NFC connector just to set up your wireless. After that, you're not using it for anything. So it's kind of a little overkill, but it does make that process that much easier. All right, I guess M5 by 10 does work. We'll get our Wagos set up here. And I'm just going to, like I said, get it mounted. Then I'll scoot it over into place and we'll get our connections made. And this, of course, will be our live, neutral, and ground. So going right here, just going to pop up a live, a neutral, and a ground. Do a swap over of coffee. Let me get all these prepped first, and then we'll do the like I said, I'll use the spare ground piece here to try and do a ground lug in there, ground the frame. And once again, on these Wagos, you can do bare wire, or you can go through and put a ferrule on it. It all depends. I'll say partly on the gauge of the wire and partly on personal preference. It's definitely up to you how you want to do it. We'll be going over there to pick up that outlet that I just dropped on the ground because I had not screwed it in yet. So good news is that means we can put the ferrules on it up here. So it's a little bit easier. Three more ferrules. And if you do not enjoy playing pickup with all of your connectors, I would suggest making sure that you pull them out and then close your container. Yeah, it's definitely got to be all the metal. There's definitely, sheet steel, some aluminum, a lot of sheet steel in that thing. Nice thing is if you cut your wires too long, like I did there, once you crimp the ferro line, you can go back and cut that little bit of wire off. I highly suggest doing that right over the garbage can, though. There's those three. Will this work lengthwise to get me a grounding lug? Probably not. I'll need one of the other ones. Make a grounding lug out of the longer one. What I'll do is I'll figure out a way of tapping it into the aluminum extrusion and doing some type of grounding. Something will be better than nothing. So we've got our 3 wires done up here. We're going to put this back in, making sure that our outlet, or the power inlet, is towards the back. We'll grab a couple of M3x8 screws. Actually, do these have the... those are set up for countersinks, so we'll grab M3 countersinks. Where are my M3 countersinks? I think we normally wind up just using button heads, but the countersink screws that I have are all out in the truck. M3x8s, M3x6s. M3x6 button heads should work fine. In a pinch. So we're just going to try and get this tightened down so it goes nowhere. Okay. And our live, neutral, and ground. So there we go. Now we'll need to run our live, our neutral, and our ground over to our power supplies. Once again, this is, I'll say, one of the parts that I'm not too happy about with the decision to use this cable, but it's something that I can go back and swap out later. I would prefer to use black and red for the DC and the blue and brown for the AC side of things. That just keeps everything a little more clean and uniform, but it is what it is for now. And once again, we're going to put these in Fuegos. Hey, Eagle, how's it going, buddy? How's it going, Winsing? Hope you're doing well. So we got what? 1, 2, 3, 4. 6. Because we'll have 3 wires going to 2 different PSUs. So we'll need 6 ferrules. Happy time zones. Yep. Doing good. Good to hear, buddy. Good to hear. That one's going there. Like that. And I'm going to need green wire. Enough to get us started here. Once again, with 18 gauge silicone wire. Remember, if you're doing cable chains, do not use silicone wire. Do not use PVC wire jackets. You want to use FEP. FEP's still going to break over time, but it's going to last a heck of a lot longer. Okay. But because this is not going in a cable chain, this is just going to be loosely tied here. It's non-moving. We'll be fine doing standard silicone wire here. That's why I keep 18 gauge silicone wire. And these sides, or these are going to get the forked connectors. Hey, Nomi, how you doing? I hope you are doing well. We're just working on wiring up the RIFF. I'm kind of deviating a little bit. The original power supply mounts that the designer used, they sat low, and so the printer would be sitting up on those PSU mounts in my case, and that was not going to work. So I did the drop DIN rail so that my power supplies will still be facing up for ease of maintenance with the rest of the electronics down here in the deck panel. And that way I don't have to sit here and like try and flip the machine over if I'm working on it. Just makes life a little bit easier. This is our neutral. And we'll do our live. Then when we come back to do the next one, we'll work on trying to zip tie them to the edge here just to keep them from dangling, kind of make them a little bit tidy. If I really wanted to go all out on this, what I would do is get an design up an ABS deck or not deck panel, but lower panel, and we would use that as the place where we could put cable trays in, and then we would, or cable troughs, and we'd cable trough everything. I don't know. On this one, I have a feeling that this printer is going to get tinkered with a bit just because of the size and what that size affords us. So, yeah, and I'm looking forward to tinkering with it. So, now on this side, I'm going to start with the spade connectors and work my way back. And be sure to test your connections. This under there, around there, and under here. This is my red or live wire. See? The Royal Nomi, how are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. BC too. We're going to run this basically the same way. So we're going to go under that wire, come under our C channel there, under our DC wiring, and then we'll wire our lug up. And this is the blue or neutral. We got those two. We're going to need our green. Now, like I said, a cornerstone of any wiring job is making sure that all of your connections, all of your crimps, all of your screw terminals are all nice and good and snug. They're not going to come out. That all of your spade connectors go under the washers, under your screws, because that's going to allow the best connection. These three together, bring it down through there, going up with these three. About right there. Start with the green. Again, this side's going to get the ferrule side, so you can strip a little bit more. Did I do? I've lost the ferrule. 22 ferrule. Right. Missing a ferrule, we'll have to go find that. That one there. Next is going to be our blue wire. So I hope everybody's doing well. We're getting ready for MRRF. I'm not stressing nearly as much just because, like I said, this build is not having to get done before MRRF. Be great if I had it to take it, but not a requirement. I've got things that we're doing at the show. We will be building a box turtle at the show. We will have the auto eject at the show. So we will have things at the show to show off. And we'll be hanging out with everybody, which is always a fun time. A few people that I know won't be there that would have been nice to see, but it's all good. Alrighty. Now, let me get everything It's not attached off there. I'm going to lift this up. Whoops. I'm going to look for that other ferrule that I was pretty sure was down there, and I am not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, so may have went down when the other wires went. Not seeing it over there. Who knows? Maybe I miscounted. Stranger things have happened. We'll grab one more. We find it later on, we just throw it back in the bin. Funny enough, I just found one sitting right next to the bin, so yay. So now we have our powers to the PSUs. We've got power to our main board. We would still need power to our Raspberry Pi, so we'll work on that next. And we can zip tie some of these wires together to get them out of the, or not out of the way, but to help keep them nice and neat. What I'm going to do is do a zip tie this way around the edge of this PSU. And that's just going to make a mount point that I can zip tie these wires to. Doesn't have to be massively taut. We're not trying to do anything strange here. We're just trying to make a mounting point for another zip tie that we'll use to zip tie these wires up. Now you can come through and do the cable lattice, and if you don't know what I mean by cable lattice or cable ladder, you can do one of those. You can, so that you're got all your wires separated out, or you can just do like this, do a couple of zip ties just to hold the wires together in a semblance of a bundle. If you have it, you can, do your split loom cable sleeving. But for now, I'm just going to do a couple of zip ties like that. Gives me something to mount to. We will cut the cable tie ends, and only the cable tie ends. No need to cut your cables here. I would take us back a step or two. Then when we come over here, we'll want to put another one or two zip ties on it just to hold it neat there. You can go through and like create a mount point and zip tie it to the actual den rail if you want. I think that would just be a little bit extra that's not needed. Like I said, the goal here is just to kind of keep things nice and neat. Semi-minimalist because we may be up in here in the near future tinkering again. Don't know. Well, yeah, we'll need some more of these, but I think we'll use the smaller ones. The white ones for 22 gauge. We'll need our fork connectors on the other end. And, I was saying 22 gauge, I think I'll go with 20 gauge. If we go too much, if we try and go down to 24 gauge, getting the fork connectors and getting a good connection on those becomes problematic. So let's go to 20 gauge. Here's our 20 gauge connectors, which are gray. We'll grab some 20 gauge wire, because I don't want to use this stuff. And actually, I was talking about spade connectors. We're not going to do spade connectors. We're going to do JST connectors on the far side. So maybe we can, I don't know. We'll see. What do we have? I want to try and get rid of some wiring. I've got way too much small thin gauge wiring. Yeah, looks like we'll just see what we got in here. Now there's nothing that stops us from grabbing like a 4-pin wire, like a motor wire, and using that, because they're going to be side to side on one end, and then we'll split them out to go this way. But I think, I mean, like I said, we can use something like this if this was actually going to be long enough. I don't think this one will be. Will be for one side, but probably not the other. Have any more like that in there? Like I said, we're just looking for 2 wires that we can use to create this connection. This is, in essence, signal. So having a little bit of twist in it, not a bad thing. Just going to come back and twist this end back up. Hey, Kenneth, how's it going? And then once again, we're going to go into a screw down terminal. So we'll need our ferrule connectors for this. And this is, I believe, some like FEP motor wire. And if we're going to do this, I will go back to my white, which is for 22 gauge. This is 24 gauge, but I don't have any connectors that go down to 24, so we'll have to do the 22. We'll just make sure and crimp extra hard on it. You can bend your wire over and double it up, but as long as you can crimp down on it and get a good connection that you validate, do the tug test, you'll be good. Now, because I'm not using the either of the extruder, the hot end on here, I can use E0 and E1 for these signal connections for the bed. I can use the bed and E0. It doesn't matter. All we have is this is the big MOSFET coming in, bed, hot end, hot end. So actually, no, I think one of those MOSFETs is for the fan, not the hot end. So we'll come in here and we'll match the negative to the blue. How do I want to do this? Do I want to use the bed? Because that's how I was setting it up initially, was for the bed. We'll leave it at the bed. We'll do the bed and HE0. And the polarity on these connectors did change. So the hot end, the power in, negative this way, positive this way. All three of the other connectors, the bed and the hot ends, positive is this way, negative or ground is that way. So this is going to be a signal wire. I will have, like I said, some twist lock zip tie points here. And what I want to do is, that's kind of loose. Normally these are quite snug for me. I'll bring this up, bring it around the zip tie point, probably bring it around and JST from the back. So give ourselves a little bit of length to play with there. And our JST, give me a second to walk around and look at it, because that'll be the easiest way to do that. Our JST is not marked positive or negative at the top. Sweet. So we're going to have to take this off, flip it over and look at it and see which polarity that JST is. And thank you for the follow, Aliens vs. Freedoms. And hopefully I can see through the bottom here. JST connector. 100% completely not marked on this. Good gracious. believe these say that they're BQ MOSFETs. So we'll go look online and see if there's a whatchamacallit, a wire diagram or pinout diagram that says what the polarity of those JSTs are. Because I believe there is a polarity to these signal JSTs. I believe. Lovely. So these particular MOSFETs, I'm not seeing anything on the top. I'm not seeing anything on the bottom marking this. The only thing I can do now is physically unmount it and kind of look at traces to see where traces go. Let me just look. Yes, MOSFET. MOSFET board for 3D printer. Sorry guys, you're not seeing what I'm doing. I'm just trying to look at some MOSFET boards. DCN plus minus. I think positive is on the right on that connector. I don't actually know if it matters. I mean, we'll connect it up. What the hell? I'm going to go with the positive, in this case, towards the right side of the connector, and the negative towards the left. Hopefully that's correct, and I don't think it blows a MOSFET. I mean, it's literally just a signal, turn on, turn off. So it shouldn't be that hard. JSTs. Is everybody doing good today? Anybody have any plans for the weekend? What's going on here? Nope, nobody has plans. Oh, what we're gonna do? It's supposed to rain on and off today, so I think when I'm done streaming here in a little bit, I think we're gonna take off and go to EchoBait and try and come up with some game plans between us and EchoBait for Midwest Rep Festival and 3D Printopia. So I'm waiting for confirmation from Chris at 3D Printopia, but it sounds like I may actually have a separate maker booth down on the floor next to EchoBait if he's able to swing it. All right. There we go. That'll come around and go in there. Once again, we'll do a couple of zip ties. And we'll be adding more to these, so I'm not going to crank them down, but I am going to do it just enough to, get a couple in there to hold these from going all cattywampus. We'll do 2 there, and we'll do 1 around in the back side there. Okay, and this one is a bit tighter. That tells me the difference is one of these is a T slot and one's a V slot, which does not surprise me because this particular 2040, I have no idea how long it's been hanging around. There we go. So 1, 2, buckle my shoes, 3, 4. And this one over here, we're most likely going to have a lot of cables coming down in through this area because this is where our penetration is in the deck panel, is in this general vicinity. So, yeah. See if I can't find another version of these a little bit different that'll work with the V slots. What else do we have going on here? Something just caught my eye. It's something being my end stops for my rails. I have to put these in, I believe, with some hammerhead T-nuts. Makes it easier. Just try and go around and do a few simple tasks here and there today. Get some things off the bench top, get things ready to go. Like I said, I am waiting for the designer of the RIFF to come back off of his vacation because he, where he ended, he posted a little note that he had the most of the electronics done and just needed to finish the video. And the cool thing about that is that means that, well, with his electronics done, I'll be able to hopefully find out more about the rear electronics box. And like I said, I'm pretty sure he's using a Big Tree Tech SKR Pico for the rear, which will be easy enough for me to get. I will have to procure a Pico if I want to kind of match what he's doing and be able to use whatever files he provides for that board mount. But the you know, the wiring up and any printed parts to support the cable routing for the X gantry access is kind of where I'm chilling out, trying to wait and see what develops there. Okay, I did tension the Y belts. The way I tensioned the Y belts was the typical 150 millimeters from the idler bearing to where the belt goes into the belt mounts. So I found that, I got that lined up, and then I tensioned the belts to match each other as far as the tension goes. So the belt should be good when we're ready to take that next step and really work on our firmware and stuff. So we've got one more, thing to work on. One more thing to work on. One more signal wire to build. And then I'm trying not to put the beds on just yet, because as soon as I put the beds on, I'm going to semi-lose access to the deck, the under deck wiring. So I'm trying to get all of this set up first. We do need to plug in our, if we go with USB cable, we've got a massive USB cable here, which I really don't need. It's going to be way longer than we need. But I don't know about doing UART on the SKR 1.4. It's been a long time since I've done it. But we'll have connections to both controllers, and if we do a tool head board, I would do something like a Nighthawk, and that would allow me to do everything on the tool head board via a USB, which would reduce some of the wiring as well. I'm going to have to extend or make a jumper for that fan wire to get that plugged into the controller fan. Let's see, what else? Now let's do another signal wire. Do I have another? Pair of thin wires. Don't necessarily care whether it's the same wire or not. Same style of wire or not. We'll just do this one. What's up, Chewy? Thought you left me. You got really quiet. Actually, everybody did. I don't know if it's just wiring is boring or what. Or watching somebody else wire is boring. Now, I will say, while we're down at Ecovate, and I got Miss Dragon talking with Beverly about, shows and signage and marketing and all that good stuff, I may actually just go and work on one of the machines that's sitting there. I am working on two different Voron 2.4s, a V0, trying to get them up and running. One of the Voron 2.4s is actually for EPACs, So would like to get that one done for them. If you're not familiar with EPACs, they are a local 3D printing store, or not, excuse me, 3D printing, filament manufacturer here in North Carolina. They do a lot of resin. In fact, that was their bread and butter, was resin, doing dental printing and stuff like that. And then they started getting into filaments, and they've been coming to the shows. So I'm going to try and get that printer up and running for them. They were looking for a larger, reliable printer. They've got their bamboos, but they wanted something with a larger build volume. So they had built the Voron. I don't even think I'm going to mess with that Molex connector. I'm just going to toss it and we'll keep going. Finally, yours, just got to wait for them to roll it around. Nice. Yeah, the SV08 Max, I'm kind of on the fence about, right? The larger size printer like that, I don't know if it's going to be rigid enough to deal with the longer belt tensions and everything, because normally you go longer belt tensions like that and you want to go up to a larger belt size, and with a larger belt size you're going to deal with more tension, and it's just kind of a cascading thing from there. So it's, I don't know how well they're going to pull it off, is kind of where I'm going with that. They could do well or they could do poorly. Just don't know at this point. Okay, so I'm trying to put some things up a little bit here. Because I want to sit down, my hip's starting to hurt me. That stuff, I did just do, I stripped those ends. I need to crimp JSTs now. And we did the negative on the one side, the positive on the other. These are, yeah, definitely need to wait for the kinks to get worked out. I mean, I could work the kinks out, but I mean, I'll work the kinks out if Silva wants to reach out to me, give me a head, a unit ahead of time. I'll work on some kinks, but yeah, kind of where I'm at on that. Ever so slightly too long on that particular one, so that's why I was trying to cut it off. Now, I am still really interested in the Adventure XL, which is 600 by 600 kit. I'm watching Nero's build, hoping to see any gotchas. I will say the local shop just got their H2D in, so I can get a chance to look at that. I don't think it was the laser variant, so it was just the basic H2D. Few other new machines will be coming in down there in the near future. I can't really say anything about just yet. But that you may see content from me also somewhat in the near future on some new machines that will be down there at the store. I will tell you that they have an 85X down there. The FlashForge 85X, which is the multicolor system that holds the 4 spools on the side and has the, we'll say like the little AMS style thingamabobber. Now, do I want to bring this up, over, around, and under? Will that work? Yes, it will. And one of the things that I want to show you guys about that in just a second, do I have it up here? I do not. It's downstairs. Give me 1 second. I do want to show you this because you're going to like this. And I will say that I kind of put this. I oopsied and somehow this made it into my bag. I don't know 100% how it made it into my bag, but it did. And that is actually, we'll go this way. This print. And you go, wow, it's a multicolor benchy. So it does multicolor prints, right? Because it has 4 colors to it. In this case, there's only 3. This is a multicolor TPU print run through the ADX5. So let's think about that. Multicolor TPU through a filament changer. So if you're interested, multicolor TPU, FlashForge Adventure 85X, it is possible. I got to remember to take that back to the store because they'll yell at me for possibly taking it, but it was an oopsie. I didn't mean to. Really, I didn't. I didn't mean to take the cool display item. What am I missing? Another bag. So yeah, let's see. We've got the Raspberry Pi plugged in. We've got our two sensors. Our two feeds for the beds wired in. We've got the AC and DC power supplies done. What else do we have? We'll start doing, I mean, I guess the other thing that I can do today, well, the only other thing I can really work on today would be the, you know, motor wires for the Z-axis. It's the only other thing I can use today or do today. However, I think I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold off. I may work on that some off stream. And the reason I'm saying that is I know there's a couple of other streams going on today. One, I'm going to be heading over to Ecovate. Two, there's a bunch of streams going on today. Like I know Steve Builds is unpacking his new mill. I don't know why I just did that all the way tight. Knowing I'm going to do the motor wires. But yeah, Steve Builds is working on a unboxing and setup of his new mill, or a mill that he's had sitting in his shop for a while that he needs to put up. And this is a true desktop mill. This is not a Milo Casa. This is a true commercial production milling machine. Let's see what else. I believe the Stealth Changer build by Lee Marie is going on. There's somebody that's doing an inertia build today or tomorrow that they're still working on. So yeah, lots of builds going on, not just me. I am working on various builds, but yeah. Like I said, we've got the automate stuff that we're working on. That I'm going to do the first build for that on Monday, but that is going to be done via a stream with the team down in Auckland so that I can understand the build process a little bit more, have the CAD and everything so I can work my way around if need be. And then we will continue to make progress. We might stream again this weekend. We'll see what the weather does. If the weather's crappy, I might stream again. I may, yeah, the motor wires are going to get done, but I'm going to have to recrimp the ends and make them, you know, custom lengths. So when I go to do that and recrimp all the ends, I don't know how much of that I want to put on video for everybody to see and go through that agonizing pain of watching me crimp a bunch of JST connectors. So when you come back, we may have the Z motor wires run and this at least one fan run. So we'll have, for the most part, everything under the deck panel run. I'll mount this and get that done as well. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to end today. Hey, thanks for the follow, Lost Boy. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I did go through and try and do some base clipper config on this. Of course, I'd have to have it turned on to show you what that looks like so far. But there is a bit of a base clipper config. Yeah, base clipper config. We'll work on doing some more wiring on the next stream. Hopefully we'll be working at the top half on the next stream. We should have all the information from the developer by then, because I think he'll be back. Don't hold me to that 100%, but I think he'll be back so that we can continue to do that part of the build. I think I can put the lead screws in as well right now. I'm not running the full bed, and like I said, until we're getting closer to the finish line, I want to get all the underdeck wiring done first. But now that we have the bed mount pieces in and those cross joiners, we can go ahead and install these, I believe. At least that way we'll be able to raise this up a little bit easier when we go to install our deck panels. So we're just going to chat a little bit, get this added in there. Make sure it's seated all the way down. We did put Loctite on these screws beforehand, so all we have to do is cinch these down. Bring that back down to the bottom. Do it over here. You want to make sure that these are fully seated all the way down in there. It will ride on top of the motor shaft, but because we have those thrust bearings in there, everything is, it'll allow all that weight to push straight down on that thrust bearing, so we'll be good. Good, I spotted. I just woke up about an hour ago. Oh, wow. That's cool. So all I'm doing now is setting in our lead screws and then dropping it all the way down to the bottom. So everything should be lined up at that point. I'll work on wiring up the motors off stream, because I will make them custom runs. So at the appropriate length, meaning this one's going to be really short. This one will be even shorter. These two will be somewhat long. I'm going to bring them down, kind of join them in and run them down the length of the two, or the middle rail here, to make life easier. Yeah, got to figure something out with this cable because it'll annoy me. Way bigger than it needs to be, but at the same time, it's
it's a USB cable. It's not gonna, doesn't go anywhere too easily. We'll have at least one more USB cable going over to the side mount secondary board that's going to run everything on the top hat. And if we run a Nighthawk board, of course, that will have to come down all the way back to the Raspberry Pi. So we were just going to bed when you hit me up at 6:30 this morning. Oof. That's not good. Hopefully it was, well, I was going to say hopefully it was work, but hopefully it wasn't work. Hopefully that, you know, that you being up at that time frame was for a productive reason and not because somebody had been an idiot and you had to clean things up at work. And folks, once again, we're building this, and this is the RIFF 600. So this is a 300 by 600 build volume. There is a version of this where it's a full meter long, or not, well, yeah, the printer itself will be a full meter long, but it's a 300 by 900 build volume. Give me 1 second here. That one goes there. Spoolers. Spooler. Spacer. Light thing. Goes there. Frame. All right, sorry about that, folks. I was trying to organize parts for the box turtle build at MRRF. So there is a version that would literally go end to end on my desk. That thought has crossed my mind. That may, so the next larger printer build like this, it may be the 300 by 900, or it may be like a Venture XL. It's a full 600 by 600. We'll see. I also need to get the Optimus P1 that's down at Echovate up and running again. We figured out the rail issue. I've removed some of the cabling. We're looking at making a modified mount to mount the Blue Storm Giga toolhead that Luke's lab came up with for the Orange Storm Giga. And we're looking at being able to mount that way using a CAN bus board. We can then run everything off of CAN bus. Excuse me, run the entire tool head off CAN bus or USB if we can find a shielded long enough USB cable. But yeah, I think that's going to make our lives a little bit easier. And then we'll go from there. So a couple of projects still in the works down at Echovate. Like I said, I've got the Vorons to fix up. The 2 Voron 2.4s, a Voron V0. Sandhills Printing brought down a Ender 5. I think they should be able to get that one done. I don't think I need to really do that one. There's the Raise 3D that needs some work and the Optimus P1 that needs some work. So a lot going on there. Keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble, keeps me out of jail, as Dan Borio would say. But yeah, I think we're doing good here. And I think we made good progress. Like I said, the tool head, it's a Dragon Burner build. I can possibly do some of it on stream, but I cannot show the actual hot end that I'm putting into it. I will have to keep that covered up unless I get approval and permission to show it off. So yeah. And I had to order a 3010 fan. I think that comes in today for that tool head because while I thought I had 3010s, I do not. I have 4010s. So I did have to reach out. I did have to go and order some 3010 fans. And I guarantee you I have 3010 fans around here. I just cannot find a bunch of my fans because I know I should have more here. But yeah, folks, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. That way we can kind of relax, maybe grab some lunch, and then head down to the store. So getting prints together, next pieces of the Master Chief, nice. I saw that the Galactic Armory just released the Halo 3 Marine armor. I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool that not a lot of people have. Look up the one super failure and the other my printer has completely shut off, citing internal errors. Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, let me know if you're having some issues with those, Jedi Spidey. I may have some options that can help you out in the interim with some larger size printers that can keep you up and running while you're trying to figure those two things out. Yeah, just let me know. But with that, folks, I am going to go ahead and find a raid target. So let me see who's up and running that we can raid over into. What do we got? What do we got? Even Pool, more. Maker deck, only Daz. Brooks O'Brien, Fuzzy, Foxen, Ugly Moo. Definitely have not done Ugly Moo in a while. Yeah, and those are your two K1 Max printers. Yeah. Yeah, dude, that sucks because I know you're needing to do the larger prints. Yeah, I have some larger printers and access to some larger printers. So let me know. We can chat. I also have a CR10S. It's a bed flanger, but it could get you up and keep you printing while you're trying to get your K1 Maxes done. But we can figure something out if need be, Jedi Spidey. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and call the stream. Let me set up a raid. We're going to go and raid over to Ugly Moo. Looks like he's playing a game this morning, but that's fine. Thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for hanging out. You had two printers fail today. That's called con crunch. That happens all the time. But thank you everybody for being here today as we continue to slow burn build on the RIFF 600 here. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I appreciate everybody that subscribed on the YouTube channel. And I will see you guys, Tuesday, if not before. So thank you, everybody. Take it easy. Have a great and enjoyable weekend. Bye-bye now. For those of you sticking around watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. and for helping getting me over the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. We'll look for a stream here in the near future, most likely after MRRF. But thank you for being here. If you like the content and the projects that we work on this stream, please feel free to like and subscribe below. Be sure to check that bell to get notifications of future videos. And YouTube's going to be suggesting a new video for you over here.